Another blood-red sunset and yet another moon phase, and still another 100 miles to my next resting place. Driving down the road, eyes on the horizon. Within my car, I'm all alone, but feeling good and feeling strong, knowing that this path I'm on brings me to myself. I'm driving.
Hey now all, I'm Joey C. Welcome to another episode of Spirit Sherpa. This is the show that helps and encourages you on your journey to unlock your magic mojo. With me as always is the Spirit Doctor, Kelle Sparta. Hey Kelly.
Hey Joey.
How's it going?
By the time this comes out, this will be history, but we are sitting on the cusp of the full moon eclipse as we record this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, any day now, this energy can stop.
Yeah, the energy has been less than delightful.
Yes.
Less than delightful.
Yeah. And if you're hearing the whining in the background, that's my dog that's very sad that he's been locked out of the room for the podcast. He will eventually wander off.
Speaking of things that are going on at home, how's your tree?
The tree saga is complete.
Oh, huzzah.
Huzzah. Did I tell you about the 10 p.m. emergency electric people coming in?
Say what now?
Oh, yeah. So the neighbors called, not the neighbor that I've been talking to, but the other neighbor who had the tree fall in their yard.
Yeah.
Called the electric company and said the trees are leaning on the wires, which they were this time. They wouldn't cut them last time because they only looked like they would lean on the wires. They weren't actually leaning on the wires.
Okay.
And so instead of having to take down one tree, they took down 3 because, stitch in time saves 9 to everyone but the electric company. So anyway, the neighbors reported it and somehow it got flagged in the system as being an emergency, that there was a power outage.
Oh, no.
And so the team that comes out on a Friday night at 10 o'clock at night showed up in our yard or in the neighbor's yard looking for the trees that were leaning and where the power was out. And I'm like, I have no idea why you got reported as a power outage because the power was not out. And this has been leaning for days now, and it wasn't required to be done at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night. And they were just like, well, we're here now, so we're going to do it. And I'm like, you're not going to get a bucket truck to that from the neighbor's yard. They had to come in through our yard because we had a double opening in the fence. And so they brought the biggest bucket truck I have ever seen in my life into my tiny little backyard. And they had forgotten the headlamps. And so they went out and bought some more so they didn't have to go back to the shop and come back. And so by the time they get started, it's 10:30.
Oh, my goodness.
And they've decided that they're going to light it by the headlights of the truck that they drove into the yard and a spot from a truck that's behind it in the driveway. I'm like, there is no way. Now there's power lines. There's 2 sheds. There's 2 fences that they have to miss. I'm like, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to see to do that.
Yeah.
So I went and got my lighting kit from my photography setup, and I brought the lights out and lit up the trees for them so that they could actually see. And then Jeff and I sat from 10:30 at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, watching them take these trees down. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I gave up. I'm like, I have to go to bed. They did not leave until 3:30.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, 3:30 in the morning. And they took down the vast majority of the trees. They got them below the power lines. The power lines are pretty low, so it wasn't, there's a little bit left, but the neighbor has already gotten a quote to take the rest of it out along with the stumps and everything. So soon, the entire tree process will be complete.
Oh, my goodness.
But the big trees are gone.
Yeah. Well, did they leave the wood for you? That's the question.
They did.
Ooh.
And the neighbor also had the big tree that had fell in their yard taken down, and they took that wood away. Okay. Thankfully, because Lord knows we don't need any more wood now.
You guys have plenty.
We have fires almost every day. And we have enough wood to last us about a year right now.
Oh, my goodness. That's great. That is wonderful
We've got
use.
maybe 2 cords of wood. That all has to be split and processed and
and
dried and
yeah.
all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah.
Wow. Lots of things happening in the world.
I teased my neighbor. I said, what's going on that you're uprooting your whole life? Because every tree in her yard was being
Just
uprooted.
falling over.
She's like, oh, you just don't even know. I'm like, okay.
Oh, man. And for those who may have missed it, if you go into Spirit Sherpa by Kelle Sparta, the podcast Facebook group, you will be able to see some video of the yard and the wood prior to even this thing happening. So
yeah,
lots of fun stuff.
Well, and it's very interesting because our very private yard has become not very private at all, between the trees coming down and then the neighbor in the house next door that had been condemned. She is starting to work on the house now. And the first thing they did was clean up the yard, and they trimmed back all of the vegetation that was growing through the fence. And now we could see into her yard. And we had this wonderfully private yard when we moved in not even a year ago. And now it's just like totally exposed. I'm like, okay, it's time to move. That was not what I wanted.
Fence company, Kelly. Fence company.
Telling you.
All right. Well, let's get into the episode here.
Yeah, I was going to say, nobody really cares about this, but
no,
you,
they
Joey.
do. They do. I'm telling you, Kelly, they do. We all care. But let's talk about the episode, because as we approach Yule and Hanukkah and Christmas and all of these holidays that we're going into, people expect to get a lot of presents. And that is really what we're going to be talking about today, right?
Not those kind of presents. No.
Oh, come on.
I love you and your puns. You're hysterical.
So what kind of presents are we getting, Kelly?
Yeah, we're talking about getting present to the moment.
Ew.
The gift of your own presence, right?
Okay. Well, see, still gifts. Gifts are involved.
Yeah, there are gifts, but there's also just, avoiding shit shows, right? Because, my God, it's the holidays in a pandemic. It's a shit show on a shit show, man.
Amen to that.
So we're now talking about how do we stay present to our evolution, because, as I said, we're on the cusp of this eclipse tonight as we record.
Yep.
And it's a full moon eclipse, which is just so entertaining. And there's all these cycles happening in astrology, and it's not my bag, so ask somebody else. But, look it up. I'm sure you can Google it. You'll find it. The upshot is that everybody is like got the heebie-jeebies right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm jumping out of my skin. I don't know what to do. I'm jumping out of my skin. Let me get angry at somebody so I can dissipate this energy because, right?
Yep.
So if you've been bitching at your partner recently or yelling at your kids or your dog, there's a reason, because you're trying to dissipate the energy of the transition. And you want to not do that as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay. And so other people are going to be like, well, I just drank it away. It's like, okay, well, that works a little bit. At least it's not dissipating it. It's just quieting it. But, if you really want to stay present to your evolution, then what you want to do is, instead of running away from that feeling, you turn and run into it.
Oh.
And not into the heebie-jeebies per se, because that'll make you nuts. Trust me, I've tried that. But more of running into the question of, why do I feel this way? What is up for me right now? What am I feeling? And I don't mean physical feeling. I mean, what's going on with me? What am I afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
What am I looking at and being intimidated by? What am I considering but not doing? All of these pieces are things that are going to cause the heebie-jeebies.
Okay.
And this particular full moon eclipse is supposed to be a time of choosing the next path. And so as you're looking at this and going, yeah, right? Because even though this is coming out the Sunday after, I will tell you the energy will still be available for you. Okay? If you didn't do anything with it, I promise you it's still there. So the idea being that, you want to really engage whatever it is that's coming up for you.
How do we do that, though?
This is a process of self-inquiry, and there's a lot of ways to do self-inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you one here, and that's the one that most people talk about at this stage. And I give it to you because it's a beginner version. Actually, I'm going to give it two. I'll give you two.
Okay.
So the first one is journaling.
Okay.
Right? Because it's a way to talk to yourself. And if you say, well, I suck at journaling, I don't like writing, okay, great. Make a video and talk to yourself, right? It can be a video journal. That's fine. The thing that I would say, though, is if you are going to video journal, you definitely want to sort of go back and take notes later on what you said.
Yeah.
And just sort of bullet point outline it, because the reason we write it down is because it gives us an opportunity over time to see patterns. If you have to watch all of the videos in order, that takes a lot of time, whereas skimming what you've written is less time consuming if you can skim well.
You're making
right?
cliff notes of your video effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, it couldn't hurt to do that in your written journals as well. If you happen to be particularly verbose and you just write forever, then, you know, when you get to the end of a writing session, it might be useful to also do a Cliff Note version at the end to just sort of summarize the bullet points.
Well, and when you're journaling, you're often journaling from a place of just letting it out. And when you go back after, you're able to sort of collect those thoughts in a way that it can be presented in a Cliff Notes.
Exactly. And over time, you'll notice themes.
Okay.
You know, you'll see themes on different ways that you see the world and different attitudes and different assumptions and even different words that you use over and over again. The words are relevant, right? If you use the same word, you know, in 8 or 10 different journals out of 15, then you've probably got a theme going around that word and what that word means to you, right? So just paying attention to the patterns, what exists. The second way you can do this, if you're not a writer, is to make art.
Oh, okay.
Is to simply just put your emotions onto the page and allow your thoughts to just go blank as you're contemplating the page. And as you do that, you want to allow yourself to not overthink the creation process, right?
Okay.
Because that's always the risk when we go into art, is that we think, oh, well, it has to be pretty, or it has to be perfect, or it has to be something that somebody else would enjoy. That is not the purpose of this kind of art.
Okay.
This kind of art is specifically a place for you to get your emotions onto the page, to release those emotions in a way that is relevant to you. So it may be scribbles, it may be mess of paints, you know, I don't even care, you know, you might just pound on a thing of clay for a while and just never make anything out of it other than fist marks, you know, and whatever it is.
Oh, that's a really cool idea for something. Never mind. Anyway, that is just creative expression in any form that sort of allows you to release it, whatever works for you. That's
a releasing of emotion. If what you're dealing with is a releasing of emotion, then that's a good pathway for it. If what you're dealing with is trying to get some understanding of what's in your way, then journaling is a better path.
Okay.
You know, that's sort of the self-inquiry that we're talking about here. You know, the default on this is if you have a thought that every time you have it, you go find something else to do, that's the thought that you need to go into.
Okay.
Because every time the thought comes up, you go squash and shift. That's oh crap, I'm running from this.
Right.
So that's the one you turn and go into. Now let's talk about presence, right? Because if you are not in the moment, you won't even notice those thoughts. They're going to come and go so fast because you're thinking about, you're planning the future, you're worried about the past, you're somewhere other than where you are right now. And so the thought becomes whatever, I got to do this. And it is forgotten the moment it comes up because you're not present to it even having arrived. And so if you're having a hard time finding the thought, you need to find more presence.
And how in the world where everything's swirling and, like you said, you're focused on this, that, and the other thing, how do you know that you don't know? What is some things that we have to do to identify that presence?
So if you are agitated and you are having the heebie-jeebies, then there is something that you are not dealing with.
Okay.
That's what the heebie-jeebies are all about. And so if it's there, you've got it. And then it's just a matter of finding it.
And that's where that self-inquiry helps to dig into.
That's where the self-inquiry helps. That's where the presence helps.
Okay.
If you've got the heebie-jeebies and you can't find the thought to do the self-inquiry on, and you've sat and you've journaled and you've tried just talking about what's going on. And that's usually the easiest path, is just sort of blindly just writing, right? In the artist's way, they call it morning pages, right? You just sit down and write your morning pages. And so you could do that. And if that doesn't work, then you have to get some more presence, because your brain is running from itself. You're not staying in the moment. You're going into the future, you're delving into the past, whatever. And so I want to talk to you about the process of finding presence.
Okay, cool.
And this is something I teach in my classes, but I'm going to give it to you guys because it's so important right now. And so there's presence, which is not meditation. Okay. So everybody's going, oh, well, I meditate. Not the same thing. Okay. Meditation is clearing your mind. Presence is being present to everything in your environment. And that includes any thoughts that might come through. Okay. It doesn't mean engaging the thoughts. It means noticing the thoughts and going, oh, interesting, and letting them go. But it means that you are aware of everything around you and within you. So you're aware of your butt on the floor. You're aware of the cramp in your left butt cheek. Right. You're aware of the smell in the air. You're aware of the birds singing. You're aware of the dog whining outside your door, right? You're aware of it all, but you don't have to do anything about it. Right. And that's the key, right? The rest, you're going, well, that's my normal life. Well, no, because you are not responsible for fixing any of it, right? You are just aware of it without judgment. So you're not going, damn it, I wish the dog would shut up. Or, oh, my stupid butt cheek needs to stop cramping. Yes. It's just, you need to just be with what is and not try to fix it and not try to judge it and not try to make it different, but just to allow it to be. So if there's a fly flying around your face, you just notice what it feels like when it lands on you. You don't flick it away. You don't do anything with it. You just be with it. That's presence. And I often tell people that the easiest way to get into presence and to know if you're there or not is to sit in presence with a plant. Okay. Because when you are fully present to that plant, it will brighten. It will become more vivid. Very interesting. And you will know you're fully there when it becomes brighter and more vivid in your vision. Until you're there, you can't be going, well, I'm not doing this right. I'm screwing this up. This is not right. I suck, right? Because that is not being present. That is judging. Judging is not presence. Yeah. Presence is the absence of judgment. And so find compassion for yourself and go, yep, haven't gotten there yet. Let's see where we go. Okay. What's next? Breathing in and dropping into presence with this lovely plant in front of me. And you're not talking to the plant. You're not communing with the plant. You're just being present to the plant. I love my gifted people because they're like, oh, I was communing with the plant and I could feel the plant and the plant could feel me and it was telling me things. And I'm like, you were not in presence. You were communing with the plant. That is not presence. And so, be clear what you're doing. Okay. It's not about clearing your mind. It's just about being where you are. And it's not about being with anybody else. You want to pull your energy field in. That'll make it a lot easier if you pull your energy field in before you start this process. Because then if there's somebody else in your house, they're not going to be disrupting your bliss or your presence, which may or may not be blissful. But, cramping butt cheeks are not blissful. No, they're not. Yeah. They're there. They exist. You must experience them in presence, but they are not blissful. Right. Does that make sense? It does. It makes great sense. And I think that that's something, especially through
everything that is going on right now, especially with the energy this weekend that we felt building up to the full moon eclipse. I think that's something that we're all lacking, is taking the moment, taking that time to be in presence.
Yeah. And that it just helps. It just helps. We're in such a state of flux right now.
Yeah.
And, I look on the boards and the groups and, there are people talking about seventh gate ascensions, and I don't even know what that stuff is, but, I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it. I'm just like, holy crap, big stuff going on.
And this type of stuff that we're talking about, this type of the experiences that people are feeling, community is a great way to share that and try to release some of that as well. And
it also helps to not think that you're alone.
Right.
I put that post out on Facebook earlier this weekend saying, hey, if this is what's going on for you, this is why, and you're not crazy.
Right.
And people are like, oh, thank God. I thought I was going insane. I didn't know what to do. It's been so hard. And there was a post from somebody in one of the other groups I'm in on Facebook that said, I'm from Australia. Can anybody tell me why everybody's so tired? And that's where they said the seventh gate ascension thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, because I am like dragging ass. And everybody I know is dragging. I mean, Jeff and I looked at each other all day yesterday. We had these wild plans. We were going to actually cook for the week and do laundry. And we looked at each other and went, how about binging Netflix instead? And then we'll have a fire. That sounds good. Yeah. And maybe a nap. Yeah. A nap would be good.
Those sound wonderful. And yes, everybody's feeling that.
We're like, I got nothing. And, he's like, I got nothing too. I'm like, all right, we got nothing. We're, changing plans. So, but it helps to know that you're not the only people.
And that's exactly the point, right? So whether it's the Facebook group, whether it's your Facebook group, Spirit Sherpa by Kelle Sparta, come in there, share just what's going on. Because sometimes just putting it out there and having other people say, like you did, oh my goodness, yes, I'm dragging ass, or I'm feeling this weight on me, or whatever it is, just lets you know you're not alone.
Yeah. This is something I do in my groups with my coaching clients as well.
Okay.
It's one of the big things. That's the reason why we do group programs and not individual programs, is because it normalizes it when you can see it in other people. When you can see your experience in others, you begin to feel like you're not a freak show.
Right.
And that's super important, especially for those of us who have a tendency to really, overjudge ourselves a little bit. Maybe kind of, sort of.
You sure do.
Yeah. So other people, which is ironic in the pandemic. Thank God for social media. Could you imagine if we didn't have
I couldn't imagine it.
Zoom and social media and all these ways, FaceTime and, video chats and could you imagine not having that and going through this? I mean, you think we feel isolated now, no videos, no on-demand streaming. Yeah. If this had happened 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, when I was 20, I can't even imagine.
It would have been very hard.
The suicide rate would have been insane.
Yeah. Well, we have learned a lot. And what I have learned most of all is that my bottle of full moon eclipse wine that I have in the kitchen is not going to be used tonight.
Thank God.
I am going to not drink it away. I am going to take some time and be in presence and feel my cramping butt cheeks.
So Joey's going to have his cramped butt cheek and, I'm going to sit in the fire, around the fire, around the fire. I'll be in the fire of my own transformation around the fire of my backyard.
Perfect.
As I stare up at the full moon eclipsing tonight, because it looks like it's going to be clear enough for that to happen.
Oh, that's perfect. Here it is not. We have rain and heavy winds, so it won't be experiencing it by the fire, but the energy will be there.
There you go. It's already there.
It is.
Yeah.
So what do you have to wrap us up? Anything you want to let people know about?
Right now, we're trying to do lighter shows recently because it's been hard and it's been getting harder, right?
Yep.
And with the coming lockdowns, that's going to continue to be the case. And as I said, pandemic and holidays, yay,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So what I do want to say is, look, it is harder, and give yourself a break, right? It is so hard right now. I mean, I'm having a hard time, and I normally don't have a hard time. I'm normally just like, yeah, everything's fine, no big deal, right? But this, it's wearing. It's like every day it gets a little deeper and a little deeper. And so it is so important to just recognize when you have those days when cooking and laundry isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And you just go, yeah, okay, I'm taking a me day because it's pandemic and I get one, and that's how it goes. Maybe I'll take 3. And to just, I would say, schedule yourself as little as possible for the next month or so, and until the end of the year, really. Schedule as little as possible in your calendar.
Okay.
Do as little as possible. Negotiate with your family for the holidays to be as little as possible. Do only that which brings you joy, and that which absolutely has to get done. I'm out of underwear, I must do laundry,
Right.
that sort of thing, unless I could go commando, in which case then I'd be out of clothes too. But, do only that which is required,
Yep.
right? Because we need a break.
Yeah.
We've been powering through for almost a year now, for 9 months, enough time to birth a baby,
Yeah.
right? We're in the final stages of gestation on this baby of a pandemic that we've been dealing with. It's time for bed rest,
Yeah.
right? It's time for bed rest before the birthing process. And, we've got this thought, and we've let ourselves slide, and we've gotten slack and whatever, but, eat well, don't eat crap. It does not help. And do movement, because that helps. Even if that movement is just, get your jam on with your favorite songs, right? Yep. Music helps a lot right now.
Okay.
And laugh as much as you possibly can. The more laughter, the better, because it is going to give you the serotonin hit that you need. It's going to keep your spirits up. Watch something funny on TikTok. I just subscribed. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but there's some funny stuff on there. I'm old, but like, you just got on TikTok. Yeah, I know, I'm old, but the key is to learn good self-care. That is what this time is about, is learning good self-care, because when you start out the other side and the energetics of everything open up, you're going to get like super freaking excited, addicted to the energy, and you're going to go balls to the wall until you fall over and fry. Mm-hmm. And if you learn how to take care of yourself in this time, you will recognize when you start to get empty, and you will stop, hopefully. If you're paying attention, if you've learned how to be present,
Exactly.
If you've learned how to monitor your own needs. But that's what this time is about. So, if you're worried that you're not doing it right, if you're learning how to take care of yourself, you're doing it right. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Perfect. Well, this is good advice as always. Thank you very much, Kelle. All right, folks, that is all that we have for this week. But be sure to join us next time as Kelle adds another chapter into your guide to energy, magic, and the spirit world. I'm Joey C., here with Kelle Sparta, and you have been listening to Spirit Sherpa. So long, everyone.
Bye. Have fun.
Each mile I travel over 13,000 now. I leave behind a little fear.
Spirit Sherpa is the sole property of Kelle Sparta Enterprises and is distributed under Creative Commons BY-NC-ND 4.0 license. For more information about this licensing, please go to creativecommons.org. Any requests for deviations to this licensing should be sent to KELLE@KELLESPARTA.com. That's Kelly@KelleSparta.com. To sign up or to get more information on the programs, offerings, and services referenced in this episode, please go to KelleSparta.com. This episode of Spirit Sherpa has been produced by Honu Voice Productions.